top of the morning to you, booby tubby. This video is a bit delayed because I forget how crazy our Sundays are with my son's theater rehearsal and all the grocery shopping and all the other stuff that happens on Sundays. So I meant to post a video first thing yesterday morning, but here we are 24 hours later or more. Saturday night in October, Leafs and Habs. Does it get any better? No. Unless they meet in April, May, June. That would be even better. But yeah, keep dreaming. Maybe it'll happen one day. But anyways, Saturday night's game was a bit of a gong show. As I mentioned in the first two games of the season, with the parity in the league anymore, you can't take anyone lightly. You have to be prepared because on any given night, especially with Montreal with Price in net, he can steal games, right? So you got to be prepared no matter what. And the Leafs looked to have been okay to start the game. It was very much like the Ottawa and Columbus games in the fact that things were pretty close. The stats were pretty close. The play was pretty close. So it was a pretty good, fast-paced kind of game. Leafs got out to a 2-1 lead early on in the first period, and made it 3-1 in the second. But then all of a sudden in the third, things just unraveled. It was their third game in 4 nights to start the season, and it was a back-to-back. And so they started their backup Hutchinson, and I thought he played pretty well for the most part. Some of the goals, like, there's nothing much he could do about. You can only get side to side so quickly and tight when guys are stretching you out. And near the end of the game, Kapanen threw his a broken stick at a guy on when they were killing a penalty, and that led to a penalty shot, and he got beat on the penalty shot. So it was just one of those games, especially in the third, that just guys stopped skating. They dropped the intensity. They thought they would just I don't know. The teams fall into that kind of shell in the third period where they try to play it safe when they have a lead, and instead of pressing the pace, and it just unraveled. Montreal scored. The Leafs scored early in the third to make it 4-1, but then Montreal scored, I think, 4 straight to make it 5-4. And then late in the third, on a power play with the goalie pulled, Matthews scored a power play goal to tie it up and send it to overtime. And the overtime period was pretty entertaining. There was quite a few chances at both ends, like breakaway kind of chances, that sort of thing. But nothing could be decided, so it went to the shootout, and the Leafs just couldn't score. So they ultimately fell 6-5 in the loss to Montreal. So Montreal fans, I'm sure, are gonna take this as a sign they're way better than they actually are, but I'm just chalking it up to early season, 3 games in 4 nights, back-to-backs, played the backup goalie. Not that Hutch could do much about those chances, but maybe Fred would have gotten 1 of them or 2 of them that Hutch didn't, because Anderson is that good. He's a premier goaltender, right? So I'm not reading too much into it, other than the fact that I'll have Habs fans chirping at me all the time, but come game 82, we'll see what happens. In terms of performances, the Matthews, Marner, Tavares, the big guns, Matthews had 2 goals, I believe. Nylander had a goal. I think a lot of them were power play goals, if I remember correctly. But they were kind of in and out. They kind of disappeared for stretches at a time, and then they would strike and that sort of thing. But the players that really impressed me in this game was the third line of Kerfoot, Moore, and oh God, who was the other guy? I forget. I still don't have the line straight. It's early in the season. They got lots of new bodies, but these guys played like lights out. Especially Moore. He was all over the place. He using his speed. He got 1 of the goals early in the second, I think it was. And Kerfoot got his first goal as a Leaf too. And they just created tons of chances. They had tons of energy all night. They were easily the Leafs' most consistent line, getting in on the forecheck and just causing a lot of havoc and stuff. So that was good to see, because if they can roll 3 really good lines all season, they're going to have a good chance at being a good team and getting back into the playoffs, and maybe getting past the first round this year. We'll see. But yeah, so again, I'm not reading too much into it. because of the circumstances behind the whole game and the week of hockey they played to start the season. So we'll see what happens this week coming up, and I'm sure it's even. I'm almost looking at it as a positive. At least they still scratched a point out of it, but at the same time, they let a team that's far inferior to them come back on them and beat them in a shootout, and that's gotta rankle them. It's a good early season lesson, and maybe that'll be a good building block going forward. Because sometimes you get teams that rattle off a big long winning streak at the start of the season, and I think a little not overconfidence or whatever can creep in, and sometimes it's nice to have an early lesson taught to you that, hey, maybe you guys are good, but you still have to work. You still have to play the full 60 minutes. You still have to be accountable. So it's my 2 cents. It's my thoughts. It can't hurt, right? They got a point out of the game, so and if they got a good lesson out of it, that could be worth than the extra point they could have got with the win. So we'll see what happens this week, and until then, stay safe.